You ready to do this?
Yes, I am. Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
All right. All right. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, folks. Welcome back to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. I am very excited to have as my guest today, Gunny Sodhi. Gunny, welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, Guy. It's fantastic. So I mean, I can't wait to get started.
All right, man. So Gunny's family roots in Ayurvedic medicine stretch across generations, but he didn't personally understand the power of Ayurveda until tragedy struck. Sudden death of his 16-year-old brother completely changed the course of his life, setting him on an unexpected path of self-discovery. Following his brother's passing, Gunny was consumed by debilitating panic attacks and bouts of deep depression. He was diagnosed with PTSD, and desperate for relief, he found no comfort in traditional Western therapy. Basically, he was lost. It was at that point that he would rediscover his roots. On the advice of his family, now correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it your father or in part
It
your father?
was it was my father. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
He began supplementing his diet with ashwagandha and other time-tested Ayurvedic remedies. Meditation and yoga became daily practices. Within 6 weeks, his anxiety faded and his depression lifted. All right, obviously, just a little bit about you. But before we get going, um, share with the listeners, Guni, where you're from originally and where you're currently calling from, and then we'll dive in.
Absolutely. Originally, I mean, I was born in India, northern India, in Punjab. I grew up for a majority of my life in Seattle, Washington, and now I am in Dallas, Texas. I guess I'm here for more sunshine.
Okay.
Seattle's a beautiful place, but not as much sun.
Right, right, right. All right. So one of the things that really kind of inspired me after I read your bio was, it's one thing to have an experience and even to have trauma, but it's another thing to then move, take another step and begin creating something and using that to help people. Um, so I guess I'm really curious how things unfolded for you after your brother's passing.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, I actually appreciate you kind of walking the listeners to this step because um, it does help to understand the story. But yeah, I mean, in 2006, my younger brother passed away in a car accident. And I just want to start out with the listeners by saying kind of society or we are programmed as human beings to understand and fathom the fact that our grandparents will be the first ones to go eventually, then our parents, then us, and then the younger one. But what happens in life, as we call it, life, what happens when your youngest brother passes and your grandmother is still alive, mourning the loss of her grandson, your mother who's had him in you? There's no manual or there's
Mm-hmm.
no normal psychological system that can get you or prepare you for that moment when that is reversed. So when that happened, in that time when we knew my brother, younger brother's name was Rishi in 2006, he is a car accident. He passed. In that time when he passed, when we were doing the funerals, the last rites, what I did was I totally went against my body's natural ability and natural process to grieve. Somebody had given me and well advice. I mean, it's advice that I misinterpreted now when I hear it, and I see a lot of people misinterpreting it, and that is the advice, Guy, that I'm sure you've heard of. Maybe you've told people, maybe you've shared it, maybe you've seen it. Be strong. Okay, it's okay. Be strong. Now, me being the oldest one, and the only son now of my mother and father, be strong to me meant that, oh my God, I cannot show my emotions. I cannot cry. I have to be this boulder for not only my parents, but for every other person, my cousins, my uncles, my friends. And I'll tell you one thing, now that I look back at it, and again, from my own experience, I talk about from my own experience, that is the worst interpretation of that advice, meaningful advice that I could have done. All that did was it held up my emotions. It pent them up. Emotions come up meant to be felt. Okay. They're coming up. They want to be felt.
Right.
Grieving is a natural process. My younger brother just passed away. I mean, what do you expect me to do? Be a rock? I mean, you gotta grieve, right? And when I did that, the energetic patterns that kept on wanting to come up and be felt, to cry, everything like that, it kept building and building and building, and I kept pushing it down. And as you know, what you resist persists, right?
And
So
just let me interrupt for a
eventually,
second. So you were in college at this time.
I was in college. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was 21, 22.
Okay.
Yeah. I was in college at this time, and we had 5 year gap. So he was 16 years old. Yeah. So 21
Mm.
years old. And yeah, I was in college. And what are you doing back day in the college? I mean, I was literally on the phone with him saying, hey, come over to our place. We're going to hang out. I mean, the thing that 16 and 21-year-olds do, right? I mean, we were all there. So, and yes, it's, when that happened and went through the whole funeral, the whole last rites. I mean, I could tell you that yes, I went on during this funeral, and I said something. I cannot recall what I said. From the moment when his accident happened to kind of when we went to India and back and everything, it was almost like somebody was holding my hand the whole time and guiding me to the, not literally, but it felt like that. It was like I was a zombie, emotionless, and didn't know what was going on. And it you know, when we're cremating, I remember pushing that button, guy. I Somebody literally had to take my thumb and push the button for the cremation, just because I was like, this isn't happening. What the heck's going on? How on earth are we doing this? He's 16. He barely saw any life. And from that point on, when we got back to 6 months later, when I finally wanted to move on with my life, just my body and mind's intelligence had it enough. They're like, hey, look, you did not grieve. The energy is trapped in your bodies and it's got to be expressed somehow. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, right? It just moves from one place to the other. So what ended up showing up was deep bouts of anxiety. I'm talking about life altering anxiety, super fearful, just felt like all of sorts of things were wrong with me, depression to the point where I didn't want to get out of bed, suicidal thoughts, all that, like deep, dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And this began to take over my life. I had to drop a quarter of school, a quarter, a quarter in school. I didn't do the things I used to. I stopped being the person I was. I stopped, you know, enjoying getting up, laughing like I used to. And going back to your point, Guy, it's what I call now the pain change principle. It's I mean, I just call it just because I think it makes sense for me. I'm sure there's better things to say it, but what it meant for me was I got to the point where I was so sick and tired of feeling the way I was, so sick and tired that I made a decision that I know life is not supposed to be like this. There's others that have been through this, others that have gone through this, that have been able to get out. They're living their lives, they're moving on. And honestly, truthfully, my brother would not want to see me like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when what's interesting is I went to my dad. My dad is a doctor. He's an Ayurvedic and naturopathic doctor. He was seeing this, but he said, look, I've waited for you to come to me instead of me going to you because I know that when you come to me, you actually want to change. He said, he goes, look, I know you weren't in a good state, but obviously if you would have gone a lot more, I would have interfered. And he, it's not fair to say that he wasn't interfering. He was telling me, hey, it's okay, do this, let's start this. I didn't take it seriously because I wasn't at that point where I was sick and tired of being sick and
Mm-hmm.
tired. As soon as I went there, he's like, okay, hey, look, this is what happened. You have PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
PTSD brings all these other symptoms. And for people that maybe the acronym, post-traumatic stress disorder. And it comes when you have an extremely traumatic event happen. You don't have the time to process it, or your mind doesn't know how to process it, and it's stuck at a very subconscious level, and it keeps spinning and spinning and spinning. And I mean, you know this, right, Guy? And so that event had caused all these other symptoms in me, but it was when that moment when I realized what he was talking about. So it was important to diagnose me correctly because then I would stop searching for what's wrong.
Had you
And
seen a
then
therapist or
I
other?
did.
You
Yes, I
did.
did.
Okay.
I saw a therapist. I went to almost everybody and everything you could think of.
Okay.
And there's certain things about that process that are counterintuitive actually. In a way you want to tell your mind in Ayurveda what it starts in the mind. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the body follows, right? So in your mind, I'm telling myself, I want to get better. But then again, I'm going to this person and this person and this person, trying to fix the thing that I want to improve, but not really having this path of, okay, hey, this is what's wrong and this is what I need to do. So
Mhm.
going to multiple things actually worked against me. But yes, I went to therapy, and again, I have nothing against therapy. I mean, it works wonders for people that I know. In my situation where I was, that was not the thing for me, and I had tried it. I had
Mhm.
done it multiple times, and I was not making any progress,
Right.
to be
Right.
honest. And it wasn't until I got control of my own mind and I understood what was going on. And for your listeners, Guy, I got this advice from my father. I got this advice from two other people near and dear, and they said, "Look, nobody can make the change for you. Only you can." And when I was in that state, I hated hearing that, because when you're in that state, you're like, "No, I can take this, or I can go to this person, he'll help me, or this person will help me. This thing will help me. This thing."
Mhm.
And no, it's so true. Only you can. And even for the people that are listening, don't take that as, oh my God, hopelessness. Don't take that as power, extreme power. That if your same body mind can get you in the state that I was, why can't that same body mind take you out of it? Why not?
Mhm.
That's where you should start. And that's kind of what I did. So we went in there. He told me this protocol. He told me, like, hey, first of all, we're going to have you understand the grieving process. It's okay to cry. I started developing a different relationship with
This
my
was your
emotions.
dad.
This was my dad. Yeah.
Okay.
I started developing a different relationship with my emotions. I started journaling. I started kind of sharing with my family more. We started, started crying openly, letting a little bit of the release started happening. Started incorporating a different diet. I didn't really watch my diet back then. More, organic, lean, in season fruits and vegetables, and some meats, and that were he was okay with, and then herbs such as ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen. A basic ashwagandha adaptogen means that it helps the body adapt to stress. That's its job. And it works with your cortisol levels and your adrenals. Your cortisol is supposed to be highest in the morning because naturally, when you wake up, let's get going. Come on, let's get on with our day. And it's supposed to wean off in the evening, ready for bed. My cortisol and my adrenals were off whack because, as you can see, when you're stuck in a fight or flight mode, the body, although it wants to calm down, the mind doesn't let
Right.
it. So ashwagandha goes in, it helps the body adapt to stress. It basically says, okay, hey, hold on, your cortisol adrenals are too high, let's bring it back down. Or wait, you're too low, let's bring it up. It literally helps the body adapt to stress. I started doing that, and I'll be honest with you, Guy, for the first 2 weeks, no changes, none. But again, I was at that pain change principle where I was like, I know this works. And I would rather do it naturally than, to be honest, again, I have nothing against prescriptions as well, but when I read the first side effects of prescription medications of anti-anxiety, antidepressant were, that scared the heck out of me.
Mhm.
I mean,
So did you
increase.
you said
Yeah,
your father was a naturopathic medicine, so you had some understanding, or perhaps a lot of understanding of Ayurvedic medicine.
I did.
What
I did.
was your okay? So your dad comes to you. You go to your dad. Uh, what was your relationship like with your dad? I mean, it sounds like it was a pretty good relationship.
It's a really good. I still remember it was a Saturday morning. I had tried to live my life normally. I went out with friends, but I was miserable. I went out just to go out, just to show my face. I woke up Saturday morning feeling, I mean, it's just, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Just feeling disgusting, horrible. Like, it's just, you come to the point where, you don't want to wake up. You're like,
Right.
shit, I'd rather, excuse my language, I'd rather still be asleep, than feel like this. And I saw him in his office and I said, Dad, I feel like crap. Please help me. Like, literally to the point of tears. And yeah, I had a wonderful relationship with my dad. I mean, he's taught me so much. I mean, he's my hero. I mean, he's seen over 500,000 patients in his life. And he's treating them through Ayurveda and naturopathy. And now he's focusing on treating oncology, patients through this. And he's just amazing what he does. But I've clearly been exposed. I've been into his office. I've seen how he's changed lives. I've seen the habits that he brought home that I took. I was exposed to meditation and yoga at 6 years old. I was exposed to kitchery at 6, 7 years old, eating organic, going into nature, learning about the universe, cooking foods in house. So I was exposed to that. But the interesting thing was, it didn't manifest for me in the way it did after my brother passed away, and I took it
Mhm.
seriously until then. So it's like the Steve Jobs quote: you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only do it looking backwards. And now I do it. I'm like, I had little teasers of it, I just didn't make it into a lifestyle.
So you go to your dad. You're ready. he puts you on this protocol, which included ashwagandha.
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 Yeah.
2 weeks in, nothing's going on. What happens?
So 2 weeks in, really nothing's going on, and he tells me, he goes, be patient, be patient. He goes, even if you were to take the prescription medication, they take 4 to 6 weeks just for those to work as well.
Right.
He goes, exercise gets results sooner than that. And I kept listening to him. I had faith. In that situation, you have one of two things: you have hope or you have faith, and one or the other as well. And I had faith. I had faith in my dad. I had nothing else to do. I tried everything else, you know. I
Mm.
was like, shoot, this got to work. Week 3, feel better. Then 3.5, 4 weeks, I'm at this event. And all of a sudden, I'm so in lost into what I'm doing. And then I step back. And when you're in this state, it's interesting. Your mind is always doing this, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? The kind of thing. And even that is very going against the healing process. But as soon as I realize at this event, my body does that, or my mind, and the data that comes back to me is like, holy crap, I'm feeling fine. Oh my God. And I will tell you, Guy, when you're in that state, there's nothing more beautiful, amazing than just feeling fine. And that's when I knew that, oh my goodness, this is working. It's amazing. Now, after that moment, did I just immediately just feel fine again? No. Some remnants of it came up, but the what was shown to my mind and what was kind of how the amygdala played into it is like, hey, hold on, you don't need to be so scared anymore or fearful or all these things. And it started leveling down. And it's almost like a snowball effect, right? Some of it comes up, but then you know what to do, get right back on track. And as more and more I did it, within 4.5, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, I was completely back to normal, like completely back. Like it was gone. I mean, it's like how I'm talking to you now,
Mhm.
right? And so that's what the process was. But I remember that moment. I remember the moment when I went to my dad, and I remember that moment that light went off. It was like, it was literally like, you know how you sometimes hear other people describing the heaviness lifted, the clouds faded, and you were back almost within your body. So that's what it was like for me.
And concurrent with this, were you quote unquote grieving in a different way or
Yeah.
finally for yourself?
I was. I
Mhm.
was. I was grieving with the family. You know, for the first time, they said, "Hey, cry. It's okay to cry." I was crying in front of them. I was journaling. I was doing a lot of meditation as well. So meditation would naturally bring up these things. And my dad taught me. He goes, "Emotions are here. They're energy, emotion, energy, and motion. Emotions are meant to be felt." And what's interesting is I want to also let your listeners know the true strength, guys, comes in being able to feel these emotions and be like the sky. Clouds pass, but clouds don't interrupt the sky.
Mhm.
And that's the hard part, is most people don't want to feel those emotions. Even when I was in the being strong phase, I believe I have a different relationship back then. I didn't want to feel the emotions. It didn't feel good to feel that. But
Right.
now I realize that that is the process. You have to. Otherwise, those emotions are going to consume you. When you, and I'm not saying to most people, it's like, oh, well, okay, yeah. Is it just once or twice? No. You may have to feel it many times, or you may just have to feel it once. It just depends. But the true strength comes in that, and that is power, because emotions are like that. I mean, we can't be, most of us are not happy forever, truly not sad forever, not angry forever. So again, we're doing it naturally. But when you're stuck in that situation, maybe make it more intentional and become more focused on, hey, emotions come up. I can feel them. It's going to be a rocky ride for a little bit, but then
Mhm.
I'll come back to this state, you know?
So you begin to feel better, get better. How how do things unfold for you, um, and such that you begin to create Uvita?
Yeah. So what's amazing is I felt great. And I was like, this is amazing. Like my own body, my own intelligence was able to do this. And in this structure, like how cool would it be? And I've always had an entrepreneurial mind, even like, you know, before my brother passed, I've always been kind of an entrepreneur at heart, and I always be somebody that I believe that somebody that I like to help people. You know, I think it's just my perhaps one of the nurturing things that I like to. I just like to help people. It feels amazing. It feels good, and I was like, how cool would it be to start this and be able to help people, but help people in a structured manner, you
Hmm.
know, and produce some of the best quality products. So I had experience working at my dad's company, and they do mostly sales to practitioners and doctors. But I was like, there's a huge opportunity to go directly to the consumers, form this direct relationship, because once you ship the products to the doctors, I mean, that's kind of it. You know your products work because people are buying it over and over again. But with the consumers, more education is required, much more of that touch point, and that's what I wanted to create. I love that community. I loved having that really kind of knowledge center type of thing to it, and then also going to the customers. I believe there was a opportunity for Ayurveda to be simplified and do so in a manner that's easy to do, structured, but then is not just about supplements, but is about your lifestyle as well. And that kind of inspired me to, along with my wife, who's also the co-founder, to start Uveda. And of course, my dad encouraged me and helped me out as well. But that's kind of, and our whole vision is to create a healthier, happier world using the intelligence of Mother Nature. And in one of the formulations, Uveda's My Healthy Mood, we have ashwagandha. But not only that, I mean, we've refined it to where it's such an amazing formula. It has bacopa, which helps the brain focus. Because when you're in that state, the brain is not focusing. So it helps you focus, memory retention. It has saffron, which is also very mood lifting. It has shilajit, which helps assimilate. It helps create more of the nutrients that are in the herbs and assimilate it more into the body. And then we take the ancient principles of Ayurveda, all the herbs, but then also modernize it with adding some of the best food grade multivitamin there is. So, and this formula is combined and it's available, and it's actually one of our best sellers. People do find the relief for mood disorders and overactive mind and sleep. So, that's what kind of inspired me. But one of the things that I love is being able to come on podcasts such as yours and share this story and hopefully inspire somebody that's in that state, because I know when I was there, I was looking.
Hmm.
And I really hope that, for the people that need it, they get the advice they need, they perhaps listen to this and they implement. The work is really still up to them.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, when I asked you if you'd seen a therapist, I wasn't implying that you should have seen a therapist, because I believe everyone, has their own healing journey in a sense, which could or, not include traditional therapy or untraditional therapy. Um, were were you still in school when you started this, Uvita?
Um, I was doing my I was completing my MBA. So I didn't start Uveda for a while after my brother.
Okay.
I was still working with my dad's company, learning more, learning the industry.
Now,
Uveda
your dad's
started,
company, he's a physician and also has a company what that
yes.
produces these.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he has a separate company, totally separate from Uveda,
Okay.
and he's been in the supplement space as well, but he deals primarily with doctors. So I learned a lot from
Got it.
from there. Manufacturing standards, how do you produce the best quality stuff, sourcing, which all mattered to me, because what's super important with Uveda is if I can tell you where this herb was produced, in what condition, by who, I can give you all the test reports, and we want to make the highest quality products. I mean, with how supplement industry is, and especially with what's been said about Ayurvedic herbs coming in, oh, they're filled with heavy metals, they got this, you can't trust the supplements. No, I mean, it's true, there are a lot of bad players, but then there's a lot of good people there that do the right thing, that are spending the extra money for the extra testing, that are going the extra mile to work with the right suppliers. So I've been in the industry for 15 years, and I saw almost everything. I saw how facilities should be set up, what the FDA looks for, an actual FDA
Mm-hmm.
audit, what does a GMP certification look like, what are good suppliers look like, and can you go visit them on an off day, meaning a day that you randomly show up, and are they still following
Right.
what they're supposed to be doing? So, all that stuff really mattered to me, and that's kind of came together to do that.
For the listeners who aren't completely sure what Ayurvedic medicine is, give us a snapshot.
Absolutely. Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old system of science. It originated in India, and Ayu is life, Veda is knowledge. So think of it like this: Ayurveda is life knowledge, okay? And it constitutes around a basic philosophy that we are composed of certain elements of the earth. Those elements are found within our body. They make up the different constitutions, which is vata, pitta, and kapha. But in essence, to listeners, the main point of Ayurveda is constant balance. How do we stay in balance? Balance within our internal environment, our external environment, with our relationships. And that starts within. That starts with knowing who we are. And who we are is based on introspection, but it's also super key to, like I said earlier, as the mind conceives and believes, the body follows. And this applies to everything, not just what I went through. Like, if you're sick with something else, like a disease like cancer or anything, it's like, it all starts with the mind. My dad tells me this super thing that's really interesting. He goes, sometimes when you tell a patient they have cancer, he goes 30 to 45% of the battle is lost mentally because of the word cancer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he
Right.
goes, for the people that perhaps take it that way, but he goes, then others that hear that diagnosis are like, it's okay, okay, something's going off in my body, we got to fix it, we'll fix
Mm-hmm.
it. So, it's interesting, but that's kind of what Ayurveda is. The 5,000-year-old system of science originated in India, and it's based around the philosophy of
Mm-hmm.
balance of mental,
So
spiritual, emotional.
okay, so what I'm hearing is your story, which is undeniably moving and inspiring and
Thank you.
tragic, all rolled into one. What do you say to people who say, um, "Okay, this sounds great, but to what degree are these supplements, regulated in the
Yeah,
U.S.?"
right, right. So I would say that's a great question. So they're not regulated, they're not FDA approved, but that does not mean they're not governed by FDA laws. Every single facility that I personally work with, and our facility back in India, is registered by the FDA. That means the FDA knows that this facility is producing these supplements. That means they have a right to go in there and do an audit anytime. They're also regulated by GMP, good manufacturing practices. Okay. They're also regulated by NSF, National Sanitation Foundation. All of these accreditations matter because in
Mm-hmm.
order to get these accreditations, you have to prove that your facility is run in a way that is safety conscious, that is clean, that is sanitary, and that is actually putting in the bottle or the packet or whatever what you say it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great question, Guy. I'm glad you brought it up because yeah, there are so many things that are unregulated. You can go on Amazon and find almost anything, and when you try to contact that buyer on Amazon, they can't tell you, where they got it from. They can't tell you where the buyer got it from. We can produce certificate of analysis for every single raw material. So I do testing at the raw level, meaning when the herbs come in at the raw level, we test to make sure the assays, if ashwagandha is ashwagandha, do the heavy metals meet our specs, is it what we need to? Then we test it at the raw level. I produce actual certificate of analysis, like this is what it's in
Right.
here, these are all the things. And then we test again at the capsule level, again certificate of analysis, and then also testing to make sure that it is what it is. For the people that are in this business, that have been doing it right, that believe in quality, they, for me to say that, you know, we're not playing by the rules just because we're not regulated by FDA, that's not correct. We are. I mean, we are. We're just, it's dietary supplements are a different classification, 005. It's a food. So, it's not technically FDA approved. It's not a drug. It's still a food, dietary supplement. But one thing that I also like to say is that my wife, when she was pregnant, and we're expecting any time now with another one, she took the supplements that Uvita produces. Okay, of course, we worked with um, her doctor and also my father. And I advise everybody. So this pregnancy is a very special time, and you should work with your practitioner just to make sure they're on the same page. Hey, this is what I'm planning to take. This is what I'm taking. Here are the ingredients. Is it cool? Are you okay with that? But she took the mood supplement and the digestion supplement. It really helped her kind of you know with her stress, and all sorts of things come up with pregnancy. And then, but the most important thing was it helped her stay regular. So if I feel confident in what we produce, that my wife can take it, my kid can, my kid is indirectly getting it through the
Mm-hmm.
breast milk, then that's the kind of product I want to produce, and that's what we do.
Let me just reintroduce you here. So I'm speaking with Gunny Sodhi, um, of Uvita. So you obviously had your dad to guide you, who's going to be guiding me when I go to your website and say, okay, I've got anxiety, I want to check this out?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we've kind of made the website where it's intuitive. You can kind of self-direct yourself to what modality you're looking for. We've arranged the products into mood assistance, digestion, immunity, joints, and overall care. But on top of that, we've also have a place called the Knowledge Center where we've dropped tons of content, which will kind of help you further decide, hey, this is what's good for me. These are the herbs in there. We do these webinars on a monthly basis where we bring on experts. So the whole thing about the website is it's empowering the knowledge too, not just giving you
Mm-hmm.
the product. Is we've never only been about giving the product. It's the knowledge as well. And that to me is super powerful. And I believe the website's built in a way. And we're also working on a quiz here, Guy, as well, that'll help kind of guide you. That should be out probably by the end of this month. That'll answer more specific questions. But for right now, I believe if you are searching for something specific, I think the products are simple enough where you can kind of fit yourself into a category.
Mm-hmm. Or what? Work with a naturopath?
Yes, or work with a
Okay.
naturopath. You can reach out to us. You can work with a naturopath that we have here in Ayurvedic. We have a couple of Ayurvedic practitioners that we can recommend as well as just giving us a call, phone support. I mean, if it's general, we can guide you. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, more serious questions, more medical related, we will send you to the appropriate channels. We also work with my dad's office. He can also guide you. I think they can also take phone consults nowadays, Zoom as well. So absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, think of us as a resource to kind of not only learn Ayurveda, but if you want to implement it into your life, ask the questions, pick up the phone. We have our customers, some of the, I love it that they read the back of the supplement panel and they ask questions. Okay, hey, where was this from? I see this is there. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? Can I actually see your guys' certificate of analysis? And we're happy to provide it. And we're happy
Awesome.
to answer those questions. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Gunny, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you can visit our website, www.uveda, so YOU, V as in Victor, E as in Eddie, D as in David, A as in Apple.com, uveda.com. We're also on Instagram _Uveda, on Facebook. We're at Uveda as well. I'm on Instagram. Feel free to reach out. We're also on LinkedIn. I also have a podcast, Guy. I would love to have you on as well one of these days. It's called the Balance Being Podcast on Apple. But yeah, if you go to the website, that's kind of the main frame to get a hold of us and touch with us through anywhere. You can call us, text us, Instagram, message us, email us. We're pretty good to respond.
Okay, awesome. And how about a go-to book recommendation, whether, Ayurveda related or not, or whatever?
I love the Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by Dr. Deepak Chopra, just because I believe he covers so much in that it almost becomes kind of like a manual for how to, no, in my opinion, how to live life. And what I love about the book is, guy, it's like only this thick. You could finish it in an evening. And what's beautiful is finish it, come back to it. 2 weeks later, you're going to learn something new, or it's going to open up space and then review it. It's one of those books where you keep on going. Like, I'm just rereading Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And it's just phenomenal what I missed the first time and what I'm picking up. So, but my first one would be Deepak Chopra's Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. And then I love Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within too.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Gunny, man. Great having you on here. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Guy.
All right,
Appreciate it. Take care.